he was operating a farm in Batavia, Arkansas.
So that's when y'all moved from Arkansas?
That's when we moved. And before that, they'd had an automobile dealership along with his dad up in Moulton, Iowa. And they decided to go to Arkansas and do this farming, and it worked real well till the Depression came along. And he had to go to work in town, and he was service manager for the Buick Garage in Harrison, Arkansas. And he began to have some health problems. He had some bad headaches and some digestive problems, and had sought health care from some doctors, I'm not sure which, but he ended up going to see a lady chiropractor, and I think it was a lady, and she was able to give him relief from whatever his problems were, and I'm not sure what they were, but he was impressed with what she did, and it helped him quite a bit. And then he developed what turned out to be appendicitis, but it kept him ill for quite a while and through a series of symptoms, and he decided he had to leave and get to where he could get some health care. So he took the family back to Iowa, and we stopped at his parents' home, Grandma and Grandpa Newcomb, and he was finally diagnosed with appendicitis. And he had surgery and peritonitis as a result of it being old. I think it had already ruptured from the symptoms that I've heard. So we were in the Depression area then, and jobs were very, very tight. And Grandpa, he was E.V. Newcomb, had the only good job. He was a railroad engineer, which was a very good job. And they had a nice, modest but a nice home. And we stayed there for a while he was hospitalized and had the surgery. And then went from there to Albia, Iowa, where my mother's family was. And he was finally able to get work at the Chevrolet Garage in Albia, Iowa. And then Grandpa Newcomb passed away, and they were in Kansas City. And so Grandpa called and told Daddy that if he would come to Kansas City, he would keep the family if he would help. He said, I cannot live here by myself, and the family needs this job. Yeah. So we went to Kansas City, and we rented a house, or he rented a house in Kansas City North. We stayed there a while and then went to Avondale for a little while, and someone put an ad in the Kansas City paper that they would like to trade a nice house in Kansas City for a farm in Arkansas.
Wow, what was that?
Yeah, that was interesting. So Grandpa and Daddy got together, and they took the man down to look at the farm, and he liked it. And so there was a trade made between a house at 31st in Brooklyn, 3017 Brooklyn, I think it was. That was a very good house, and it was a fair size house, and it had quarters on the first floor, living room, dining room, kitchen, bedroom, and had a room added on the back. And then it had two apartments, two-room apartments in the upstairs, which were rented out. And they had a toilet on each floor, and it had a basement and central heat from coal. And so we settled in there, and my dad got work driving a bus for a while, and he sold Watkins products and just anything to make some money. And some of his illnesses came back, his headaches, digestive problems. So he found a chiropractor in Kansas City that worked with him. His name was Trotter, Dr. Trotter, L.H., I think, Trotter. And he had a nice big home that he had a home office. He had his office in chiropractic office on the first floor and his home on the second floor. And he had bought a campus-like thing over in Overland Park that he had turned into a nursing type thing. And so my dad got help from him and was feeling better, and times were tough and he really didn't have a good job. So Dr. Trotter suggested he go ahead and enroll in the chiropractic college and go through and get his degree. So he did that, and
was it Cleveland back then?
It was Cleveland College, and it was the Troost campus that he went to, and so he went through that, going to school full time and working full time, and it was a long, hard job for him, but he did finally get through that. And in the meantime, I was growing up in these several places we moved amongst to survive, and I'm wondering what can I do to make a living. It looks like it was a very difficult thing, and jobs were scarce, and people were scratching to get along, and so I thought about being a veterinarian or a chiropractor, because I'd been in and out of the school, and they had a clinic, and we attended to that and got some of our health problems straightened out. And by the time I got into high school, I decided that I wanted to be a chiropractor like my dad. So I started taking courses, took my Latin while I was in high school, and then went to a pre-med at Kansas City Junior College. We could get a pre-med in 2 years at that time. And so I got a good pre-med with the science and language and things that I needed. When I finished my pre-med, I went to the Cleveland College and got my degree there.
How long did it take to get through Cleveland back then?
Well, at that time you could get a 3-year chiropractic degree or a 4-year. And so I took the 3-year, got my diploma, and then went back for the 4th year and got it. So I got my first diploma in 1950 and then the second one in 51. So, and of course I'd done that all with our own tuition. And I'd been in practice of Cleveland with my dad, and I practiced there for 5 or 6 months, I guess. And I got a draft notice. So I was drafted and went into the service. And I was offered service in the medics department, and I told them no, I didn't want to do that. They didn't have a chiropractic corps, and so all I'd done is gone to school and worked in that. I'd like to see some other things in the world while I was in the service, so I ended up in the Army in artillery. And when I got through our basic training in Camp Chaffee, Arkansas, we finished our training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And and this was during the Korean War, and my entire unit left for Seattle, Washington to go to Korea, with the exception of me and two other fellas. And I was the only one that was sent to leadership school back at Camp Chaffee. So I went back to Camp
lucky
Chaffee
there, then.
to leadership school, which was, I think, 8 weeks or 12. And came through, and they said, well, then you've passed sufficiently that if you want to, you can go on to officers' school. And I said, no, I wanted to go back and finish my Army and get back to my practice as soon as I could, so I went back.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put me back, they put me in battalion committee, which was for instructors. So I became an instructor in Army artillery for the rest of my Army career. And that's where I got training in a lot of things that relate to instruction, what would go into any sort of a school or
Sure.
or college. And so when I did get out and headed back, well, they needed a chemistry instructor at the Chiropractic College. They asked me if I'd do that. I said, well, I have time to do that and start my practice. So
Sure.
I did a trimester of chemistry instructing, and then went into full-time chiropractic, and by that time, Eddie was taking some courses at my brother Edwin
Mm-hmm.
at the university. He did at Kansas City Junior College and at the University of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
But he started to chiropractic college because he finished his KU work, and my mother decided that she would go ahead and get a chiropractic degree. So
Do you know what interested her in going back to school? Because she had a bunch of kids at home.
well, the kids were pretty well scattered out by then, except Clara and Paul. They were the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And but she decided she wanted to do that, and she did. And we made an office for her in the thing. So
So she did practice some.
so we had 4 of us in that one office: Eddie and myself and Mother and Dad. And so it worked very well. And we. When I got back and did my teaching of chemistry, I had Eddie and Mother both in my class.
Oh, that's
So
fun.
that was real interesting. And they were both excellent students. And I'd been away from school there from the chemistry for a couple of 3 years. So when I had something I wasn't sure of, I'd ask, well, Eddie, how does that go? And he'd pop it back to me. So I kind of used them a little bit, but that got them started into it. And while I was in chiropractic college, I had a good friend that I met, and he got by the house and met my sister Joyce, and they ended up married. So that brought Joyce and Elmer into the chiropractic fold.